On December 18, 2022, the football world witnessed one of the greatest World Cup finals in history. After 120 unforgettable minutes and a dramatic penalty shootout, Argentina defeated France to lift the FIFA World Cup for the first time in 36 years. Lionel Messi finally completed the only achievement missing from his legendary career. Millions of Argentinians poured into the streets in celebration, and football fans everywhere declared the debate over the greatest player of all time officially over. But something unexpected happened after the celebrations ended. Most World Cup winners spend the following years protecting their crown. They become slightly more cautious, slightly more predictable, and eventually another nation replaces them at the top. Argentina did the exact opposite. Instead of slowing down, they became even stronger. They continued beating Europe's biggest nations. They remained almost impossible to break down defensively. New young stars emerged alongside experienced veterans, while Lionel Scaloni quietly transformed a team once dependent on Lionel Messi into one of the most complete squads in international football. Today, whenever major tournaments begin, one nation sits at the top of almost everyone's list of favorites. Not France, not Brazil, not England, Argentina. What's remarkable is that very few people predicted this only a few years earlier. Between 2014 and 2021, Argentina experienced heartbreak after heartbreak. They lost a World Cup final. They lost back-to-back Copa America finals. Their greatest player repeatedly considered walking away from international football, while critics claimed Argentina had wasted the career of Lionel Messi. The team looked divided, the fans were frustrated, and the future seemed uncertain. Yet within just a few years, everything changed. A new manager arrived with almost no international experience. Young players nobody expected became national heroes. Veterans rediscovered their confidence, and Lionel Messi finally found the perfect team around him. This isn't simply the story of how Argentina won the World Cup. It's the story of how they rebuilt an entire footballing culture and quietly became the best national team in the world. Before Argentina became football's dominant force, they became one of its greatest disappointments. For nearly a decade, they possessed arguably the greatest player the sport had ever seen, yet somehow failed to win a major international trophy. Every tournament seemed to end the same way, with Argentina falling just short, while questions about Lionel Messi grew louder. The first major heartbreak came in 2014. Under Alejandro Sabella, Argentina reached the FIFA World Cup final in Brazil. It felt like destiny. Messi was at the peak of his powers. Sergio Aguero, Ángel Di Maria, Javier Mascherano, and Gonzalo Higuaín formed one of the strongest squads in international football, and millions believed Argentina were 90 minutes away from lifting their third World Cup. Instead, Germany broke their hearts. Mario Götze's extra-time goal handed Germany a 1-0 victory and left Argentina wondering how they had let football's biggest prize slip away. It was painful, but even worse was still to come. 1 year later, Argentina reached the Copa America final against Chile. Again, they lost. Another final, another penalty shootout, another missed opportunity. Supporters convinced themselves it was only bad luck. Surely the next tournament would be different. It wasn't. In 2016, Argentina returned to another Copa America final. Once again, the opponent was Chile. Once again, the match ended in penalties. And once again, Argentina lost. For Lionel Messi, it became too much. Moments after the defeat, a visibly emotional Messi announced his retirement from international football. He admitted that perhaps the national team simply wasn't meant for him anymore. The announcement shocked the sporting world. How could arguably the greatest footballer in history retire while still in his prime? Fortunately for Argentina, that retirement lasted only a few months. Messi returned, but the problems remained. The team still relied almost entirely on individual brilliance rather than collective identity. Managers changed constantly. Tactical systems changed just as often. Every defeat brought fresh criticism, while every tournament increased the pressure on Messi to deliver the international trophy that critics insisted separated him from Diego Maradona. Then came the 2018 World Cup. If previous disappointments had been painful, Russia was humiliating. Argentina barely escaped the group stage before suffering a convincing defeat to eventual champions France in the round of 16. Defensively, they looked vulnerable. Midfield lacked control. Confidence had disappeared. The squad seemed like a collection of talented individuals rather than a united team pursuing the same objective. Many believed Argentina had reached the end of an era, Messi was entering his 30s. Several experienced players were approaching retirement. The national team lacked direction. The future looked uncertain. Ironically, that uncertainty became the greatest opportunity Argentina could have asked for. Because while the football world focused on famous managers and superstar players, the Argentine Football Association quietly made a decision that would change everything. Instead of treating the 2022 World Cup as the end of a journey, they treated it as the beginning of a new era. One of the biggest reasons is depth. Unlike previous generations that depended heavily on a small group of superstars, today's Argentina can rotate players without dramatically weakening the team. If one midfielder is unavailable, another steps in seamlessly. If an attacker suffers an injury, there's another young talent ready to take the opportunity. Competition for places has become one of Argentina's greatest strengths, ensuring that no player can rely solely on reputation. That depth is especially important because Lionel Messi is no longer in his 20s. Although he continues to produce moments of brilliance, Argentina has quietly prepared for the future. Julian Alvarez has become one of Europe's most complete forwards. Enzo Fernandez continues developing into one of the world's finest midfielders. Alexis Mac Allister has established himself as a leader both for club and country. Defenders like Christian Romero remain in their prime, while younger players continue pushing for opportunities every international window. For the first time in years, Argentina's future looks just as promising as its present. Another reason for their continued success is adaptability. International football has changed dramatically over the past decade. Teams can no longer rely on one tactical system throughout an entire tournament. Every opponent presents different challenges, and the best managers adjust accordingly. Scaloni has mastered that balance. Against possession-heavy teams, Argentina are comfortable sitting deeper before attacking with speed. Against defensive opponents, they patiently control the ball until space appears. If a match becomes physical, they compete. If it becomes technical, they have the quality to dominate possession. They don't force every game to look the same. They simply find ways to win. That flexibility makes them incredibly difficult to prepare for. Perhaps the most underrated factor, however, is mentality. Championship-winning teams often develop an unshakable belief in themselves. Even when they're trailing, they never appear panicked. Even when matches become chaotic, they trust that someone will produce the decisive moment. Argentina now possesses that confidence. You could see it throughout the World Cup. You've seen it in Copa America, and you've seen it in World Cup qualifiers. The players genuinely expect to win. That belief spreads throughout the squad. It influences every tackle, every pass, and every decision during the biggest moments. Today, whenever Argentina steps onto the pitch, opponents aren't simply facing the reigning world champions. They're facing a team that knows exactly what it takes to become champions, and that's often the hardest team in football to beat. Only a few years ago, Argentina was a nation searching for answers. The team had lost multiple major finals. Lionel Messi had briefly retired from international football, and many believed one of the greatest footballing nations in history had wasted the career of its greatest player. Today, that conversation feels almost impossible to imagine. Under Lionel Scaloni, Argentina didn't simply build a better squad. They built a better culture, one based on trust, humility, discipline, and teamwork. Messi finally found the support he had spent years searching for, while a new generation of players embraced responsibility instead of waiting for one superstar to rescue them. The result has been one of the most remarkable transformations international football has seen in decades. A Copa America title, a Finalissima victory, a FIFA World Cup, another Copa America, and continued dominance against the strongest teams in the world. Whether this era ultimately becomes Argentina's greatest generation will be decided over the coming years. But one thing is already certain. The rest of the football world is no longer chasing Lionel Messi. They're chasing Argentina. Because this isn't just the story of how one nation won football's biggest prize. It's the story of how Argentina rebuilt itself and quietly took over world football.